Why OEM on board? You can see from here that we actually define operating limitation. We tell the operator what is acceptable at the engine. And so fuel and additive are part of the operating limitation. So people should not go around and try to approve something without having the OEM reviewing it. You know, you are in your car, gasoline, you want to put diesel in your car, that's your deal. You have an issue with it, it's going to be, but when you have an airplane, you cannot park your car on the side of the road. So we need to be really sure that we meet all the requirements. And it's not about just meeting the property of ASTM D1655 or 7566. We are looking at things like gating system. We are looking at everything that is not controlled directly by a requirement in a specification. So it's called a fit for purpose testing. So this is an important part, and all these slides that you see here actually an extract from a deck. We had a symposium, SAF Symposium, or SAF Symposium, to be more precise, in Brussels last April. We were trying to go in an international location, Europe, because a lot of activity right now in Europe as well. And so we wanted to make sure that we educate everybody on the process, because it's about working collaboratively, right? And to be honest, I hear there's some frustration sometimes. Everybody now with all the producers that are coming up to speed, there are a lot of requests for approval, and so it's overwhelming for the OEM group that is reviewing this. So we try to improve the system by having the clearinghouses, and that's going to be on the next slide, please. I have a slide on the improving the process. There is a D4054, there is the fast track, and I wanted to address the fast track because, first of all, my colleague right here went to the fast track with an NS7, so he can have some few words to say about it. So fast track, the word fast track may be, it was meant to be faster, right? We remove basically tier 3 and 4 requirement, because if we look at your product and it looks like something very similar to what was already approved, if it's the same molecules, why would you go on other engine test if we know already there? So we're trying to make it simpler, but there's a price to that. It's limited to 10%. So it's meant to be easier, but it's meant to be easier if you do and follow the direction and have the proper data to engage with OEM. A lot of the things that happened recently is a lot of producers came and tried to engage with OEM when they were not ready to do so. Too early to have this engagement and research report review. We don't want to, this OEM group is kind of very limited amount of resources. So what we did in the past few years is we created the clearinghouses. Next slide, please. So the clearinghouses, the initial ones are the D4054 clearinghouses that we created for a few reasons. One of them was to ensure quality of the data. We wanted to make sure that all the data generated were the process was similar for all the applicants. And we also wanted to facilitate a little bit the engagement with OEM to make sure somebody was pre-screening basically what was coming and engaging with the applicant. And I think we'll hear a little bit later that it's very important, this engagement, because it's a kind of coach the producer to what has to be done to the processes that they're going to go through with the OEM and the ASTM. So it makes things a little simpler when you have all the information you need, all the data you need to engage with the OEM. So I have a slide at the end to summarize a little bit engagement, but a process, if it's done well, if you come prepared, it could be like what you did in the year for EFA, for Annex 2. And by the way, somebody reminded me something. EFA was not the name again. I initially called it biospeaker, but the ASTM process is such that it's a consensus process. Somebody didn't like the biospeaker, and now it's EFA, so whatever. Now we have UK SAF clearinghouse and the EU's SAF clearinghouse. And the nice thing, it's a collaborative work. All these clearinghouses are working together and with a door to end OEM. So primarily helping the OEM going through, but it's also helping the applicant coming in. So next slide, please. So I think the next slide is a bit more. So this is basically where the clearinghouse support the activity. Actually, next slide to elaborate. When we started with the Trust Annex, next slide, please. We have two task force today. I had a few conversations outside. Again, everybody can join ASTM, and if you join ASTM, you can have access to the data associated with this task force. We have a server, you can look at everything, you don't need to ask anybody what the status is, you can have access already. So I encourage everybody to participate to ASTM. We have two task force actually. We have the 100% drop-in and the non-drop-in. Non-drop-in, I would say it's a longer term effort, so I don't think for us, personally at Boeing and other OEM, we are focusing on the 100% drop-in. And I hope that by week 26 we will be there. It's going. We are working hard to it. Again, it's all about safety. So we want to make sure that we get it right. And here we have to deal with different things. We are doing with blending of different SBCs. You can have some pathways that can produce directly 100% SAF or SATF. So it's really, we want to make sure that we get a good spec because we can't afford to miss on that. So that's why it takes time. But again, if you want to participate, you are welcome. Just join ASTM and you can register to the task force and be part of the conversation, which is always good to have different perspective. So, one thing I didn't touch, drop-in and non-drop-in. The reason drop-in is the focus is drop-in, you don't have to recertify any equipment. We qualify a fuel, right? That means, so under DC 7566, the beauty of DC 7566, the way it works is when you met the requirement, it's reclassified as D1655 fuel, which most airplanes were qualified with a JLA, JLA 130-55. So it's basically an authorization to fly. You do not have to recertify anything. Now, if you make something that is not within the boundary of the JLA, JLA1, that's a different story because now you have to certify or recertify an airplane, and that's something that may be a different story. So that's the reason why that 100% non-drop-in is a longer term effort on that. So the next slide, please. And that's my summary slide, just a visual from early engagement to the end. And it can take from a year to 5+ years, you have seen that. So it's all about being ready, having the right data and right coaching. So use all the resources that you have. Engage with your OEM individually. We will not allow technically to have a new applicant coming to the OEM group because there is no time for that. So that's the reason why go engage with the clearinghouses. So this is the best way to get up to speed.